Today, we are going to do a comparison of mixers. We are going to be looking at the Bosch Universal Mixer and a KitchenAid mixer. For years, I have exclusively used a KitchenAid mixer. It is affordable in price. It can really do a great job, but as my family has expanded and we have grown in number of people, we also have grown into being a single ingredient household, which means a lot of cooking and baking. And nowadays I cook a whole lot more than I did 5 or 6 years ago. So today we're gonna look at why I think if you are a mom with multiple people in your family, why a Bosch Universal Mixer will probably be the best fit for you, especially right now with the holiday season of Black Friday coming up and all of those amazing savings that you can get on either mixer, but specifically the Bosch mixer. So today we are gonna make our usual everyday loaf of bread by Grains and Grits. Usually I do her 3 1-pound loaves of dough. Today we're probably just gonna do the 2-pound one loaf so that I can cook them evenly and accordingly, so we can look at them side by side so I can show you how the Bosch mixer works, how the KitchenAid mixer works. Okay, now let's just do a quick little comparison when it comes to the specs of each mixer. So when it comes to the Bosch mixer, one thing you will notice that the Bosch mixer has is a lid on top. This has been one of my favorite things because I don't know how many times I'd put something into my KitchenAid mixer, even on the stir mode, it would end up flying flour or things would spill out. I know sometimes you can have like those little guards. I used to have one for this, but it honestly just still never worked out for me. And we'll get into why here in a second. But another thing about the Bosch mixer is it is a 6.5 quart bowl. It has a 4-speed setting along with a pulse setting. It also has suction cups on the bottom of the mixer that help it stay grounded onto any surface. Another really cool thing about the Bosch mixer is the fact that it has a powerful bottom-driven motor. Because it has that, they have designed it in mind to mimic hand kneading, stretching, folding, tucking, the same things we would do if we were using our hands in a bowl to knead yeast doughs, or also just to mix your regular batters, which is why I think it makes it the most effective method other than using just your hands to mix all of your doughs, your batters, all the things. And it also comes with some really great attachments. I love about the Bosch mixer attachments is this little bowl scraper. This is only for batters like cookies, muffins, things like that. Another really cool thing is the fact that they have different paddles for different things. I don't always use it like that. I do really like using the whisk for almost anything that I bake when it comes to any kind of quick breads. This is your cake paddles, so you can use this for making cakes. I've never used it, but I probably should and see how it works because I'm really interested, but I always just end up grabbing for the whisk because that's just what I'm used to, especially when it comes to a KitchenAid mixer, which is what I've always used. Another thing you can get is cookie paddles. I've used these once, but honestly I do prefer the whisk over these. I just like the way that the whisk really beats the butter, in my personal opinion, and a method that I like making cookies with. Okay, so our dough hook. This is something I use every single week, at least once a week, usually more. This is what you're going to use for your dough hook. And with that also comes this little attachment. It easily just goes on, and this is gonna scrape the inside of your bowl. So you technically still do get a bowl scraper, just not in the same way that you would for like quick batters like that. Some other great attachments you can get for your Bosch mixer is things like a ice cream maker, which is something that I've really had my eye on since I've gotten my Bosch mixer. I'm really interested in that. You can also get things like a blender, a slicer, shredder. They also have a meat grinder. Another cool thing is the fact that the Bosch mixer is dishwasher safe. I know most moms are probably probably thrilled to hear that. I have stuck it in my dishwasher before and it works great. So now let's talk about our KitchenAid mixer. Most people know about KitchenAid mixers. They come in all different shapes and sizes and different specs, all the things. This is my first KitchenAid mixer. My husband did buy me a brand new KitchenAid mixer last year, 2024 Christmas. And I ended up selling it like a week ago because it was honestly just collecting dust in my pantry. This is why I'm using my older one today. The Artisan is a really great option if this is in your budget of mixer. I have had this mixer for probably 6 years, and I actually bought it used, and she had it for quite a number of years before she sold it to me. She bought it brand new, so it just shows that KitchenAid mixers can be a long-lasting, very effective mixer if that is in your budget. KitchenAid mixers have a motor at the top, so it is just basically just mixing your ingredients. It's not necessarily kneading it when it comes to yeast doughs. Even with the bowl lift mixer that I just recently told you about that I sold, it was never powerful enough. And as my family has grown, it has just really struggled. And like I said, I only had it for a year. And almost every single week when I would make bread, it would get so hot. I was telling my husband, I'm like, this thing is gonna burn up within a year. And maybe just because it's a newer model, but even with this one as an older model, it still gets extremely hot. So the one thing with the KitchenAid mixer is I have never one time reached window pane, even with a smaller batch of dough. I think mostly just because the fact that the motor is on top versus a Bosch mixer, it is a bottom driven motor. And it really does, I'm gonna show you here in a minute, it really does mimic how you would do it by hand. I can literally seeing it, stretching it, folding it, tucking it, and doing all of those things. And in the KitchenAid, it's just basically mixing it. So I think that's a huge reason why I'm a part of a Fresh Milled Flour Facebook group, and tons of people have said the same thing and how much they switched to a Bosch mixer, and that completely solved the problem. Without further ado, let's just make some bread. So here I'm going to show you how to put in your dough hook. I have my bowl scraper in place. Okay, our 10 minutes up, so I'm sure you have noticed our KitchenAid has moved a lot, but I hope you can see what I'm talking about with the motors, how the motor of this one is driven from the bottom versus this one is at the top. And I hope you can see what I'm talking about when it comes to how it kneads the dough. When the KitchenAid kneads the dough, it's more so mixing the dough, versus you can see the Bosch mixer is really tugging and pulling and folding and all of those things that you would be doing if you were doing it with your own hands. So let's check window pane after 10 minutes. We're gonna try our Bosch mixer first. But you can see how it is stretching. We can see the light through this window pane. This is what we want. Now let's try our KitchenAid. To be fair, I did not scrape this KitchenAid just to keep it fair because I don't need to do that with the Bosch mixer. I just feel like if I were to do that, I was kind of supplementing it. So I just kind of let it do its thing. You can obviously see that there is still dough on the sides that has not been kneaded or incorporated in. And also it's almost like, I always think of a tornado, like it's stuck on the bottom and then the top is just like spinning it, which again is because that motor is on top. And I wouldn't say that it's super hot. My other KitchenAid mixer, whenever I would do it, I mean, it was like hot to the touch. This definitely is warm. I wouldn't say it's warm, but I wouldn't say it's hot. I feel like it's right in the middle. So just keep that in mind. That's only 10 minutes of kneading such a small amount of dough. See how sticky this dough is? It's because it's not mixing it as much as it should. So when we're doing window pane, you see how this is just tearing? You see how it's just tearing? We don't want that. You see that? We can't expect our dough to rise when it's literally just tearing apart. Now, is this gonna make a bad bread? No, it's still gonna rise. It's still gonna be delicious. It's still gonna be good, but we're not getting that. You see how it's just ripping when I'm trying to slowly pull it apart. It's just not doing what your yeast bread is designed to do. Unlike the Bosch mixer, when I pull a piece off, I can feel this is smooth. I don't know if you can tell, but it's very, very smooth versus I'll show you here in a minute, but the KitchenAid, it is not doing that. So this is a Bosch mixer dough, and you can see how it's not like ripping itself apart. It is stretching all together. It's just gonna keep stretching and stretching. It's not tearing apart. You see how I'm able to just gently pull it. Let's pull these out and let's look at our doughs. Okay, so here we have it, the KitchenAid dough and the Bosch mixer dough. Let's go ahead and take a look at how these doughs look. When I touch this dough, I don't feel as many bumps. It feels smooth, it feels incorporated, versus the KitchenAid. It definitely has more bumps too. As you can see, my hand doesn't glide over it as well as the Bosch mixer. Okay, to be fair, I think that this is way too much dough to fit into our pans. Maybe not. Honestly, the KitchenAid mixer dough feels like more dough, although I don't think that they are. You know what? Let's weigh them and let's see. Okay. This is the Bosch mixer dough. 1,273. This is the KitchenAid dough, and it is 1,261. Let's go ahead and shape these. Like I said in my video of how I make my everyday loaf of bread step by step, I really don't get too crazy about how to shape bread. There are some key things that we want. We want it to be without a seam. We want it to be, mostly it's in the mixing process in my opinion, but I don't want a seam. So I'm gonna kind of create some tension for that to try to close up that seam. Obviously we want the seam at the bottom of the pan, just a few little key things. I will say this is definitely a lot more dough than what I'm used to putting in my bread pans. Also, touching this dough, the KitchenAid mixer dough feels like it's already rising. Like you can see there's some bubbles in here. Let me show you. There's already some bubbles. You see here, there's a bubble here. So there must be some more kind of heat going on with the KitchenAid mixer, because I can feel this dough feels puffy. It feels like it's like already rising. So Like I can just feel, it feels light and airy is what I should say. Before I put that tea towel on, I want to show you the smoothness of the dough again, because this is like the perfect lighting to be able to see what I'm talking about. Before I put the tea towel on, I just want to go ahead and show you the smoothness of the doughs of what I'm talking about and how different they look. Now remember, this is a KitchenAid, this is the Bosch mixer. Well, this is a very interesting find. I came back maybe 30 minutes later, 20 minutes later, something around there, to check on my bread, and I have no clue why this happened, but our KitchenAid mixer dough has risen double the amount as our Bosch mixer. I'm not sure exactly why this has happened, but I went ahead and got my oven preheating. So while that's preheating, let's have a little chat, okay? This is making me think of a lot of things. I'm gonna cover this so it doesn't dry out. This is making me think of quite a few troubles I have run into since switching from my Bosch mixer from my KitchenAid mixer to my Bosch mixer. When I would use my KitchenAid mixer, I always dumped all of the ingredients all at one time and would just let it mix, do its thing as long as it possibly could before I'd have to take it out and just shape it because it was struggling. When I moved to the Bosch mixer, it was a big learning curve. I've learned a lot. My first bread that I made did not turn out that well, and come to find out, you know, the Bosch mixer is a lot more powerful. It needs a lot quicker. You don't have to put it on a high setting. You always just put it on one, things like that. But seeing the KitchenAid mixer rise more, I wonder if it has something to do with how small the bowl is, maybe because the head is getting quite warm, that it mixes the dough and just creates more heat and activates that yeast a lot faster. Versus the Bosch mixer, it's a wider bowl, it's a lot more open. We don't have a lot of that friction. It's honestly just kneading it. There is no warmth whatsoever with the Bosch mixer. So I find it very interesting when I came here and I saw that, and I'm like, maybe that's why I had issues with my dough in the beginning. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and bake this, but I do want this one to rise to its full potential. But like I was saying, when I was shaping it, I could tell there was a lot of air in this KitchenAid mixer dough. So I find that quite interesting. If you have any tips or tricks, or maybe why this has happened, maybe you've come from a KitchenAid mixer to a Bosch mixer. What are some things that you have noticed, things you have learned along the way? I want to hear them in the comments down below. Okay, so here is our KitchenAid mixer bread, and this is our Bosch mixer. This one just came out. It took a little bit longer to rise, but it just overall looks very beautiful. Like we said, with the dough, it is very smooth. Versus the KitchenAid, you can still see a lot of those lumps, and I think that has a lot to do probably with the kneading. They obviously both rose a lot. I think the main issue was the fact that the dough, it was a lot of dough. I don't usually put that much dough into my pans, but you can tell that my Bosch mixer rose more up versus the KitchenAid is more slumping down. And I think that's where we're getting that beautiful gluten structure with that window pane for our breads. So let's go ahead and put some butter on it, let it cool, and we will come back and we will slice it and see what our crumb is like. So you can see here, this is the glass, so this is the Bosch mixer. You see how smooth, I know it's gotten dark now, but how smooth and nice this dough is versus the KitchenAid mixer, you're still seeing a lot of those lumps and bumps. You can see the difference in the rise and how this one kind of bubbled out a lot versus this one is coming straight up. You see how this Bosch mixer, it is more rising straight up versus the KitchenAid mixer here, how it's bubbling out, and it doesn't have as much of a form as the Bosch mixer did with that beautiful window pane. Okay friends, we are finally at the point of the reveal. We are going to cut into each of our breads and see how our crumb has done. So as you can see here, the KitchenAid and the Bosch mixer breads are completely different on the inside. A lot of things are making sense now as to why the bread was leaning as it was cooling. On the outside when it was cooling, as you can see, my family has already cut into this one this morning, but it was just leaning. And I thought it was just the weight of the top, but actually once we cut it, we've discovered that it's hollow and raw on the inside. As you saw in this video, the dough amounts were basically the same. They were pretty uniform. Obviously the Bosch mixer was a lot more smooth. It was rising slower, but it rose more effectively, baked obviously more effectively than the KitchenAid. I've had this happen a few times with my KitchenAid, nowhere near this severe, but it always did kind of rise more to the outside, like almost like falling over into the pan, versus Bosch mixer, it is going straight up. And I wonder if this has more to do with the gluten structure, the way it was rising, heat from the mixer, and all of those things as to why it didn't bake as well. I baked it for the same amount of time. I baked my bread for 25 minutes at the same temperature. Obviously we did have to put this one in sooner because it was rising a lot faster. So it's very interesting to see the comparison. Our Bosch mixer has a very tight crumb. As you can tell, there is very minimal crumbs when we were cutting it. It looks very uniform. It looks beautiful. As you can tell, it's very straight. It has stayed its shape. It is just an overall beautiful loaf. Well friends, thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad that you made it this far. I hope I was able to help you answer some of your questions when it comes to a mixer for your family and maybe making more of a better decision with the holiday discounts coming up. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I will catch you in the next one.